Welcome back to the channel Innovation Fitness with Harvey. Before we begin on the weighted supine marching video, this is purely an inspirational channel motivated through my vision loss journey, and the link for my disclaimer can be found in the description below. So in my last video I've done some very gentle and beginner friendly marching exercises, but with no weights at all, showing the supine position when lying down, then done seated and also standing. But at the end of that video I said I would add some weights to the variations in my upcoming videos, so I will split it down into 3 separate videos. So part 1 in this video is the weighted supine marching. So hopefully adding some weights, it will be good for improving strength, stability and also endurance. And as ever, I always have the visually impaired community in mind, so hopefully a lot of useful audio. So I will begin with the benefits of doing weighted supine marching. So there's quite a number of benefits. So they are good for targeting the hip flexors. Now the hip flexors are the primary muscles that we use when lifting our knee up towards our chest. So play a role in everyday movements, such as when walking. The exercise also targets the core, so core stability. Also improves pelvis stability. It also strengthens the quads at the front of the thighs. Also good for improving coordination, body awareness and endurance. And in the supine position, it involves lying down on our back, so it provides the most support out of the variations. So can be a good exercise for maybe someone who may struggle with balance, or could be good for someone just getting back into fitness, or maybe to do before moving on to seated or standing variations. So I will get started on my demonstrations in the weighted supine marches, hopefully in a logical order from easiest to hardest, and they can all be done very easily in the home with just some very basic equipment. So just some very light dumbbells for my first variation, and I will move on with some resistance bands. So just very basic equipment. So for me, I do it on rubber matting for safety and comfort. So I will do a quick recap to get in position from my last video. So I will lie on my back on the matting and nice and relaxed. So shoulders relaxed, so not shrugged up, just arms just naturally at my sides. My head will be nice and relaxed, just sat on the mat behind. My back will remain neutral, so just follow the natural curve, so not arching the back. I will also bend my knees so that my feet are now flat on the mat and feet hip width apart. Also throughout the exercise, I will engage the core so my pelvis is nice and still, so my hips are not rocking from side to side. So my first variation is using the dumbbells. So just some light dumbbells at my side and just arms nice and relaxed. So just lifting the dumbbells at my sides, then I will do the march. So the back of my arms are just relaxed on the mat. So just my forearms and hands are just lifting the dumbbells. So this can be good for adding the dumbbells, for putting demand on the upper body and core, and also good for working the forearms and grip strength. So again, just a quick recap of the exercise. I will just inhale and exhale as I bring my knee up. So I will start on my right knee first. So right knee up, then down, then left knee up and back down. And it's all about being nice and controlled. So it's not a race, so controlled movement. So bring my knee up, pause at the top, back down. Knee up, 1, 2, back down. And again, in exercises, it's all about knowing our ability. So for me, I bring my knee up so that my thigh is vertical and my shin is parallel to the ceiling. So basically a 90-degree angle. But if that is too high, we could bring our knee up not quite as high. So all about working to our ability for our safety. So that's my first demonstration. So I will now move on to the other variations with the resistance bands. So my first one is the long resistance band. So I will do the demonstration on my right foot. So I will put the resistance band underneath my foot, so under the ball of my foot. And for me, I pull the loose ends back, so a small amount of resistance, so feeling the tension, but I pull the loose ends towards my right hip when doing my right foot. Then if I was to do my left foot, I would pull the loose ends towards my left hip. at my side. Now, for me, that's what works best for safety, as if the band was to slip off, it would land at my side. So it's for safety, which is always something I consider in the exercises. So I will now do the demonstration with the long resistance band. Now, adding this resistance band is good because not only does it provide resistance in the lifting phase, it also provides resistance on the lowering phase. So on the lowering phase, still nice and slow and controlled. So and this can put more focus on the hip flexors. So, and I'm also feeling that in the quads with the resistance. So it just makes it a bit more challenging. So there's constant tension throughout this variation. So good exercise. So I will now move on to my next variation with the resistance band, but a loop resistance band. So I will put it around my ankles first, so it will just be above the ankles, and this one can be good as it now challenges both legs at the same time, as my knee comes up on one side, my other leg is working to try and keep everything stable. So I will do a demonstration of the exercise. So I will bring my right knee up first, then back down. Again, nice and slow and controlled. And again, for the variations, a good rep count all depends on our ability, but maybe 10 to 15 reps on both legs is a good rep count. And again, just makes it a bit more challenging, adding resistance to the exercise. And just makes it a bit more difficult for keeping everything stable, so gives the core a bit more of a challenge, and also working harder to keep the pelvis stable. So puts more focus as well on the hip flexors for adding strength, and again working both legs at the same time is good for coordination. So a good variation, and as I say, in the lying down position it provides safety and comfort to do the exercise while just focusing on the movement. So my final variation is to now move the loop resistance band up so that it is now just above my knees, so around my thighs. And again, when using the loop band, no twisting in the band. So now that it's around my thighs, this is the most challenging variation in my demonstrations in this video, as it's providing resistance in two directions, as my knees are also just pointing outwards slightly to keep the constant tension in the resistance band. So this final variation puts the most challenge on stability. So again, good exercise. So as I say, doing this exercise is good for core and pelvis stability, good for the hip flexors, building strength, endurance, hopefully good for helping with everyday movements, maybe for someone who struggles with balance, just getting back into fitness. So, and again, in the exercise, it's all about being nice and slow and controlled. So I think that rounds off my demonstrations, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video of the weighted supine marching, and in my next video I will do part 2, and it will be the seated variations with the weights. So please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.